This also goes for every Trinbagonian who want to live in a foreign land. Now is the time to come home and do something instead of staying out there and freezing. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I say that is the main foundation. So come let us go hand in hand, because this is our land. Come my brother, come my sister, and let us build a nation together.
Yes, indeed. Come, my brother, come, my sister, and let us build Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique together. I had some little hiccups here in the studio in terms of, the audio and so on. I think we are back as normal, but we have to continue the journey with technology. Those things will happen from time to time, and you have to get accustomed to it. You have to have a cool head, because if you go to worry about these things, you can become very depressed. So, because I have been in this business of radio and podcasting, talk shows, and so on, I am not too worried when those things do happen. But again, just saying, with technology, you can find from time to time you having technical difficulties, you having challenges, and you have to fix it and get back on grid. So I want to welcome those who are back viewing me on Facebook and YouTube. Please share the live. Sharing is caring. When you share the live, you give your friends on your page the opportunity to be a part of the conversation. So go ahead and share the live. I was saying earlier, what we realize is that the NNP is intentionally culturing their supporters in particular to believe that being poor is normal. Being vulnerable is normal. And they do so every time. Anytime they have a meeting, they speak about the poor and the vulnerable. And it's not that they like the poor and vulnerable, or they want to see the poor and vulnerable come out of poverty and be in a better place or position. They just play on the vulnerability. They play on the minds of these people, making them believe that being poor and being vulnerable is a normal thing. Not only that, they make them believe that they care about these poor people. In fact, when you listen to Keith Mitchell telling his supporters they are going to march in the streets, and what he told them to put on alone tells anyone out there that this guy sees his supporters as poor and vulnerable. Because there are people out here who are listening attentively to what this guy is saying and what other people are saying. When you listen to the guy speaking to his supporters, telling them they are going to march for the high cost of living and other things on the streets. But what he told them to put in their feet, put on to come out, right, alone tells the world how this guy sees his supporters. And I told you last night, for those who listen to the nightly program, I know a lot of these NNP supporters. And I knew them 15, 20 years ago. And they're in the same position or even worse. And I still cannot wrap my mind around that fact that the NNP met these people poor and kept them poor for 20 something years. But I am now concluding that they actually cultured these people, created a mindset in these people that poverty is normal and being poor is normal. But mind you, Keith Mitchell and Gregory Bowen and the others, they're rich. They're filthy rich. But the supporters of the NNP, the majority of them are poor and vulnerable. But what the NNP continues to do is to make these people believe that they love them. They continue to make these people believe that they care about them. But in reality, they don't care about these poor people, these vulnerable people. They will use them to get in power, but when they get in power, they don't do anything much for these poor people, these vulnerable people. And the evidence is there to show. The evidence is there to show that most of the people who support the NNP, they are poor and vulnerable. But they were poor and vulnerable 20 years ago. And they remained poor and vulnerable even though the NNP, the party that they support, was in power for 23 years and a half. So something is fundamentally wrong here. But still, the NNP is on their platforms because, they have zonal meetings and, political meetings. They're on their platform still giving these poor people who support them this false idea that they care about them and that they like them. They like to see them poor because poverty is synonymous with the NNP. In other words, anywhere you see the acronym NNP, you can easily replace that with poverty, with poor and vulnerable. Because NNP is the real beneficiary of poor people. You being poor and vulnerable, the NNP benefits from that. Because when you listen to their meetings, they would repeat poor and vulnerable about 20 times. So they're saturating the minds of their supporters. And that is why some of their supporters, even if you give them a number of things, they would still not support you. They will still be angry with you because they are accustomed being poor and they want to remain poor. There's some of them who want to remain poor because the mere fact that they're still supporting the NNP, it says a lot. It says a lot. The majority of people who break away from the NNP is because they got the opportunity to educate themselves. They start thinking differently. They start listening to different programs and empowering themselves. I'm telling you. But those who are stuck, you wonder, because how is it that you are supporting a party and the party was in power for 20-something years and you were poor when you started supporting the party and you're still poor 20-something years after, and the party will still be telling you they love you and that they care about you? How is that possible? I am asking myself that every single day. How is that possible? It's like the supporters of the NNP, they give them something to drink. And they just cannot liberate themselves from that organization. It is sickening because the majority of supporters of the NNP, and I know them, I can tell you, I know these people. They were poor 20 years ago and they're still poor today. That is why Keith Mitchell and the NNP continuously use this tagline, the poor and the vulnerable, and a government supposed to care about the poor and the vulnerable. But what have you done for the poor and the vulnerable? And the majority of them, they are your supporters. But here it is. These same poor and vulnerable people cannot see that the NDC cares more about them and want to see them come out of poverty. They are so blinded. They are so tricked. They are so tomfooled. I mean, the NNP, as though they baptized them in stupidity and they are now blinded. They cannot see any way out. It's like a cult. You're in a cult and you can see nothing else but what they teach you there and what they do in that cult. The NDC has done more for the poor and vulnerable people in this country than the NNP. Look at the Imani trainees. They have been bounced around like a ball every election. That was NNP trump card. The Imani, the Imani, the Imani. But do you know, the Imani trainees are given more money as stipend than when NNP was in power and when NNP was talking about the Imani trainees. You realize they stopped talking about them? The Imani trainees are getting more money now under the NDC than they used to get under the NNP. Not only that, many of the Imani trainees are now transitioning, going on to college, going on to NULO, doing something extra to enhance themselves, their skills, their academics. So they are way better off than under the NNP. Not only the Imani trainees, the people who receive money from SEED, the Poor Relief Assistance Program. These people are getting more money under the NDC than under the NNP. Those who are 65 years and older, they're getting $500 now and not $300 or not $400 or not $450. They are getting $500 now. Those with mental problems and other disabilities, they're getting $500. So they're getting more under the NDC than under the NNP. The poor, the people who receive the poor relief assistance. Under the NNP, you had 8,715 or so people using pit latrines. They have no running water, and they're using pit latrines. The NDC, in recent times, constructed a number of modern bathroom and toilet facilities for families throughout the country, and they continue to do so. They continue to build modern bathroom and toilet facilities for these people. But during the NNP time, this was the statistics.
Approximately 1,398 households with no access to toilet facilities. We also have approximately 3,500 persons have no running water in their homes. Also, we have 8,715 persons today that uses pit latrines.
That's the statistics, right? So the NDC came into power and decided, let me work on eradicating, removing pit latrines from families and give them some dignity, provide them with indoor bathroom and toilet facility with running water and so on. That is what the NDC is doing for these people, these poor people, right? But still, the NNP is on a platform saying that they love poor people and that they care about poor people. You have right now more people going to TAMCC, going to NULO because tuition is free. The $810 every year that parent or parents had to find, they no longer have to find that. It's free. And besides TAMCC and NULO, you have other programs that the government is rolling out to help these young people. Right now, you have parents who cannot afford the $1 or $3 to give their children for a hot meal. Under the NNP, they had to get that money. They had to find that money. But now, hot meals in schools are free. And yes, we know about the challenges and so on. Those things will happen over time. But you can improve. You can learn from it. But they can get a hot meal at the school. Lunch at the school. Something hot to put on their stomach at the school. These poor people. Look at the Build Back Better houses. I could tell you, because I worked at the housing authority after Hurricane Ivan. So I know what the NNP used to do in terms of house construction. And the guys who worked there will tell you that they were building those houses without bathroom and toilet facility in them. And they were not wiring, doing the electrical work in those buildings. They were not doing no plumbing work in those buildings. I could tell you because I know. So when the NNP talking and they criticizing They build back better houses now that the NDC is actually building with bathroom and toilet facility. They also doing the electrical work. They also doing the plumbing work. And they also doing the painting. They're giving the people a proper house with concrete frame. Yes, it's wooden, but the frame itself, that they bolting all the wood on, it's concrete. I am saying, I know what the NNP used to give these people after Hurricane Ivan because I worked in housing authority. I'm not guessing this. I'm not guessing it. After Hurricane Ivan, they had a similar thing, build back better houses. A similar thing where they had the Guyanese. They came up and they were in different centers and they were given contracts to build those houses. They were given contracts. The materials were being supplied by a source in Guyana. And they were given contracts. So in Bellevue, you would have some Guyanese there. In St. John, in St. Patrick, in St. Mark, St. Andrew, all about. They would have these Guyanese there. And they would be given contracts. So a team, a contract, and they would split up the money among themselves. I am telling you, when they constructed those homes, they were constructing it just as the columns, the this, the that, just how they met it. They constructed it that way, the size and everything else. And no bathroom, no toilet facility, no electrical work, no plumbing, no painting. Now the NDC, after Hurricane Beryl, is building back houses for people who lost their homes. They're putting modern bathroom and toilet facilities in it. They're doing the electrical work. They're doing the plumbing work. They're painting. I'm telling you. But the NNP is criticizing that particular project. And they're telling the poor people that they care about them more. It's amazing. It's amazing. The NDC introduced with Flow the Jump program, giving households without internet service, internet, a device, and training to use the device. Think about it for a moment. The NDC partnered with Flow to do such a good thing where 1,500 households will benefit from such a program. But still, the NNP is on their platform telling people that they care about these poor people. Right now, the government, the NDC is trying to get a pension, to make sure that a pension is given to workers within the public service who were hired on contract by the NNP administration. The majority of these people were hired in the public service on contract by the NNP administration. And they did not make them permanent. They kept them on contract for 10 years, 15 years. And the list goes on and on and on. Right? I'm telling you. But these people, what happened, Zoe? Huh? What's happened? Huh? Your bag? What bag? You won't get your bag. You won't go to your bag tomorrow, right? All right. Yes. So I'm saying, folks, the NDC is trying to make life better for people in the country. But look who's trying to stop it. Look who is trying to stop it. And then the NNP and some of these union people would come out and tell you that they care about you. I'm saying the NNP hired these people on contract within the public service. They didn't make them permanent. They didn't regularize them. No, they kept them on contract because they wanted to control the public service. Because if there is a strike, the people who will go on the strike would be those who are permanent. Those on contract would be afraid. They would be afraid. I'm telling you, they would be scared of losing their work because they're on contract. That is what the NNP did to these people. So the NDC is trying to make sure that when they retire, because all these people who are on contract with government, when they retire, they're going home with nothing. No pension from the employer, the government of Grenada. So what the NDC is trying to do is to make sure that these people go home with a pension. But the NDC is saying we cannot put these people under the 1958 pension. It's not sustainable. Government alone paying the employee after they retire, they're no longer working, And government has to find, the government and people of Grenada, the taxpayers of Grenada, have to find 66.66% of the last high salary of that person to pay them that money until they die. And it's not like the person contributing towards that. No, that is the 1958 pension laws. It is not sustainable. And many governments throughout the world is moving away from that and focusing on a pension where the employee puts something and the employer puts something. And when they retire, they get what they're supposed to get until they're dead. But the union is out there trying to prevent these workers from getting a pension. Because as it stands now, the government is not obligated to give these people a pension. They retire and they go home without a pension because the NNP administration hired these people on contract with no safeguards, with nothing. They could make them go anytime. And when they spend 15, 20 years working and they reach 60, they go home with nothing. Nothing, because they're on contract. The laws does not protect them. They have nothing to get. I'm saying to you, the NDC is now trying to reform the system. It's called pension reform. The NDC is saying the people who are permanent already, you're permanent. You fall under the 1958 pension scheme. The government cannot do anything about that. You're safe with the 1958 pension scheme. But those who are on contract for service and so on letter, right? PSC letters and so on. You are going home with nothing now. What the government is saying, we need to make you permanent, but before we make you permanent, we must make sure that you have a pension to fall back on after you work for all these years. That is what the government is trying to do, to create a pension plan for these people, but one where the worker will contribute a certain percentage and the employer, the government of Grenada, will contribute a certain percentage. And when you retire, you get your pension until you die. Or if you decide to leave the public service, your pension will follow you. You can roll that over even if you work in the private sector. That is what the government is trying to do, But what the union man is saying, he wants the government to regularize these people, make them permanent before you reform the pension or create this new pension plan. But if you regularize these people or make them permanent, now, by law, they would fall under the 1958 pension scheme, which is not sustainable as it is. All right? It's not sustainable. So, why then try to get them permanent to go under this scheme that's not sustainable? What he wants is for the people who are currently getting their pension to not get their pension, in my belief. He wants these people to have problems in getting their pension, just as the teachers, the temporary teachers, they had some problems in getting their salary, the fortnightly salary or bi-monthly salary. And I spoke about it, and the same union man came out and defended the workers, the workers that the public workers union represent, the people in the ministry, the people in Ministry of Finance, the people who handle the payments, who's supposed to make sure that these people get their money and get their money in time. The same union man come out and defended these people who did not do their work so that the teachers could get their money on time. Because in my belief, he wants the teachers to have problems in getting their money. He doesn't want them to get paid. He doesn't want them to be paid. So he wants these teachers to go on the streets and protest and demonstrate against government because he has an agenda. In my belief, you have to understand their motive, It's a similar thing with these contract workers in government. Yeah. These people are retiring and going home without a pension, The NDC is so kind and so loving and so generous. They decided, let us come up with a new pension plan for these people. Well, not a new pension plan. All right? Let us come up with a new pension plan. Not just, the one that they never had, because they never had a pension plan. So let's come up with something new for them. Let us create something new for them. Let's make sure that they retire and go home with a pension. That is what the NDC is trying to do. But you want to stand in the way of that. You want to prevent them from getting a pension. That is exactly what this guy is trying to do, in my belief. He has a motive. All right? And that is why the NNP is also singing the same tune. But the NNP was in power. The NNP did not make these people permanent. And the NNP was seeing these people retiring and going home with no pension. And they did nothing about it. They did nothing about it. So I am saying the NDC understands that if these people retire, when they retire, and they go home with no pension, then they go right back into poverty. So the NDC knows that. The NDC cares about these people. Hence the reason they are trying to create this new pension scheme. So you reform the system and you create a new pension plan so that they would fall under that. They're going to contribute a little and government will contribute a little. And when they retire, they're going to get a certain amount. I am saying this is a good thing. It is a very good thing. But based on the conduct of the Public Workers Union president as it relates to teachers, temporary teachers, not getting their salaries on time because the people in the ministry, the different ministries, and mind you, the Public Workers Union represent these people, those in the ministry. The Grenada Union of Teachers represent the teachers. And there is a serious jealousy between those two unions. Serious jealousy going on because the teachers are better paid than those Public Workers Union members, at least the majority of them. All right? So the incompetence, the deliberate attempt by some to undermine the teachers, to make sure that they don't get their salary on time, could be even bigger than we think. Because the public officers in the Ministry of Education, in the Ministry of Finance, in DPA, they're all public workers. And I'm not saying all of them are involved in this sabotage and in this incompetent, attempt to destabilize government. Not all of them, but there are some that's actually involved in this. I am saying what they want to see is these teachers, temporary teachers, take to the streets, protest, demonstrate, and so on. That is what they want to see. Because it's not like government doesn't have money. Government have the money. They have money. They have the money. So the public officers who are supposed to carry out their duty, they are not carrying it out. And then the Public Workers Union president will come out and defend them. The foolish boy will come out and defend these people instead of saying to them, do your work professionally. You made an error. You're acting incompetently. Start doing your work so that the teachers can get their pay. It's your responsibility to do that. It's not the minister's responsibility. It's your responsibility. You're paid to do that. You have to start thinking deeper and seeing what's going on here. And it's a similar thing with the new pension plan that the government is proposing for these contract workers. And the majority of contract workers, they are public, they are members, quote unquote, members of the Public Workers Union, even if not in a formal way, but some of them pay union dues. So they fall under the Public Workers Union banner. So you have to understand what is at stake here. So this guy goes on TV giving people the impression that by writing the DPA or getting a lawyer to write the Department of Public Administration, he's doing something good and he's going to get something out of it. That's waste of the Public Workers Union money. Anybody with sense will tell you that. You're wasting their money. But he believes by doing that, you're going to get somewhere. He believes by going on like this, you're going to get somewhere. But I'm saying it is very clear that the NDC cares more about the poor people of Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique. They want to see you come out of poverty. They want to help you. They want you to be in a better place. That is what they have been doing from day one. So all the talk about NNP and NNP saying on their platform that they care about poor people and vulnerable people, that's a damn lie. The evidence does not point to that. The evidence don't point to that. But I can tell you the many things that the NDC did for the poor people of this country to help them to get out of poverty. When NDC paid the pension and the gratuity, the amount of people who came out of poverty, because yes, they worked in government, but when they retired, they went straight back into poverty. When they got their money, they were lifted out of poverty instantly. Instantly. So I am saying the evidence is there to back up the NDC, that the NDC cares more about the poor and the vulnerable people because they want to help them to come out of poverty. And again, I will challenge the NNP. When you're on your platform, run on your record. You've been in power for so long. Tell us some of the things that you did for the farmers, the nurses, the police officers, the teachers, the fishers, the small business owners. Tell us, the youth, the single parent. Tell us what are some of the things that you did for these people. Tell us what you did for Carriacou and Petit Martinique. And tell us what you intend to do for these different demographics. Run on your record. Run on your record. That's what you have to do. And if you do that, we're good to go. Run on your record. You're quick to criticize and condemn the NDC. You have all manner of bad things to say about the NDC. But when it comes to you talking about what you have done, you can't say, what have you done for these people? That's life-changing. That's transformative. That they can really say they're better off today than they were many years ago. Let's have a conversation. But folks, we have to wrap it up now. I want to wish you all the best. Take good care. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Again, I'll be back with you tonight in the hub.